there's about a 60% chance that that's false. Anyway, they said like at the end of last week, about 2
Oh, no, it feels great. It feels great.
I eliminated it because.
Yeah, I did just about everything except when I had to pick a hammer up, you know?
On the cold.
Yeah, if you get a phone now, we can visit.
So that's why I figured it was.
Hey, folks, just to let you know, we're live. You're not, the meeting's not active. I just wanted you to know that you're being watched.
Yes.
We are now.
Yeah, we're not recording.
So we're just visual.
Yes.
Okay.
So what are we on, Facebook or what?
Well, YouTube, maybe sometimes give us a little space. No, sometimes give us a little space. Well, Bob's not here. Yeah.
New Hampshire.
All over.
Well, he's doing New England swing, man. He's been everywhere.
Mr. Berger, good evening. Mr. USA? Yes. Oh.
Planning on being here Monday. I was actually in town on that because I was not feeling well, so I wasn't able.
Yeah, that's-
But on Sunday, I went and got my COVID test. So I was.
Why, you didn't have one before?
COVID test, I felt.
Oh, you don't not vaccinated.
Yeah,
Perhaps
yeah,
that might be
yeah,
good.
I was sick, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. That's very good news.
I'm able to see the meeting on YouTube.
Go to the town website.
All right, I know
At the bottom of the page, there's a YouTube icon.
that. Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be some weird loop you're
Yeah, I was
splashing
gonna say.
yourself in.
I just wanted to see what it looks like.
And it could create some interesting
Oh,
echoes
no, that's not.
when the mic picks it up.
Yeah, it gives me this thing. That's the wrong one.
Fran, were any of your children sick?
Oh, there we go.
You were the only one?
Let me see what kind of
They were
delay it
sick
is.
before me.
Wonder where you got it.
Right. They were sick about 2 weeks.
It's not that.
Here.
That's usually the process.
Yeah, it's about a
Oh, yeah, right.
40-second delay on
Oh, it's 7 o'clock.
it. All righty. Class is indeed.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I'll catch up with you.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna call the September town council meeting to order. A roll call, please.
Mayor Foskey,
Present?
Councilmember Bloxham, Councilmember Berger,
President.
Councilmember Gillespie,
Present.
Councilmember Marino,
Present.
Councilmember Knopf,
Present.
Councilmember Oswald.
Present.
A majority of members are present. We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have, is microphones on?
Yes.
And can you hear us back there? Thank you. We have two minutes to go over. First of all, the August 23rd regular town council meeting. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to that one? Do we have a motion to accept that one?
Did you get the updates that I sent?
Yeah, they should be included.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I move we accept the minutes as presented from the August 23rd council meeting.
Second,
A second.
any discussion? All in favor? Okay, for the September 20th town council work session last week on the ARPA money. Anybody have any corrections or adjustments to that one?
I do. On
Okay.
page 2, Lisa, Councilmember Marina. A new project, I estimated the cost to be about 6,000 to 14,000.
That was depending on how the materials got to the site, right?
I just rounded to the highest number.
Estimates the cost would range between
Yes.
6 and 14.
That's right. I just rounded the highest number.
And then the, was it on the, there was a question about, can you help me out there, Jeff?
With the correction, on page 2 as well, just under Councilmember Marina's paragraph. I just wanted to clear it up. I didn't actually say that the council had heard from other nonprofits. What I said was that when Councilmember Blossom said he thought y'all had pretty much addressed everything he had heard, I reminded him that we had brought forward a suggestion that $100,000 be used as a business facade grant or business facade money, improvement money for all the businesses in town, because that's what we had heard from the businesses and we advocated for them. So that's not really a nonprofit request.
So can I say, clarify for council that they did hear from Onancock Main Street, who asked that the town use $100,000 for
Yeah.
business grant?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And it wasn't as gifts. It was, I had said either use it as a loan, type of revolving loan, a matching fund, or
But
a
he
straight out.
had actually said gifts when he was talking about it
Yes.
back and forth with you.
So
That's
that's
why-
just his
Okay.
interpretation of it. I just wanted to be clear that we didn't ask for businesses to be given gifts as Main Street. So it's just really a clarification. And then the refreshing sidewalks, we basically say that any kind of cleaning up, power washing, anything like that, we were advocating for as well. So that was it. It's just kind of minor points. Thank you.
Okay, did we get that?
I believe we did.
Are the amendments on both counts?
Yeah.
So we're striking gifts. Is that correct? And what else?
But Bob, or Councilmember Blossom did say that he didn't want to give it as a gift, so I'm
Right.
not sure I just want to scrape that part out of
Well,
there.
but it was never presented as being a gift.
But that is what Councilmember Blossom
He did
said.
say that.
Yeah. Right, but it's being attributed to me. So-
Yeah, it's not in his sentence, to be attributed to the, it's in the
Well, he
sentence for that.
Councilmember Bloxham stated he would prefer a grant match for facade improvements over direct gifts.
Yeah, but the gifts is also mentioned in the sentence before that Janet said, and she didn't say that. That's what she's not correcting Mr. Bloxham's sentence.
Right.
So grants to town businesses.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Mainly because I was speaking on behalf of Main Street, so I just wanted to be clear. Thank
Okay,
you.
we have a motion to accept those minutes from this.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the minutes with the amendments made.
A second,
That's it.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have no public hearing scheduled for tonight. The next matter of public business is the comprehensive plan. And we have a schedule here to adopt the comprehensive plan. We don't have to do that if council doesn't want to do it, but okay, that's up to council to decide that. You've gotten the comprehensive plan, you've had a while to look at it, so you need to know what you want to do with it right now, or you want to look at it some more. So let's start going around the table and seeing what people want to do. Huh? Okay. Thank you.
I think there are there's some language in here that has not been adjusted that should be, and some things that I and question whether they actually belong in our comprehensive plan. And I would like to have time to work with the town manager to clarify those things before we go forward and adopt this. Because once we adopt it, it's still a flexible plan, is it not?
No, yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right.
I would be comfortable with more time.
Okay.
And if there has been discussion as a council of the document, I was not, it was before my.
There has been no discussion.
So
Yeah.
I would like to see some discussion with this body to hear ideas from other people of concerns that may not have occurred to me and may be in need of consideration.
Other people, you mean, council? Yeah, okay, not when we had a public hearing, okay. All right,
I agree with Sarah because as I was reading, I came across a few things that I think that we could discuss and like be
right,
able to add to.
I'm sorry.
I will agree with them.
All right, so,
Any more discussion?
I would recommend that you, come up with a list of things, that you'd like to discuss at the next meeting, and then, and it's gonna be pretty, precise about what you want to talk about, and if you want to talk to Matt before then, do that, or talk to me, maybe we can get together, three of us. We can do it 3 at a time, or something like that, one council member, meeting Matt, or something, to talk about it, because we want to get this going. And then we can we'll make a longer discussion in the October meeting. We'll have time to really talk about each one, but if we can work some of these things out, the things it might be just a number that you want to change or something like that, and that we can do for our new census data or things like that.
So we want to propose submit some questions into.
Yeah.
I mean, so we could.
I would do that, yeah. We do that.
Can we submit some questions in 10 days? or-
Yeah, let's do that. Why don't you come up with some ideas and just forward them. Let's put a time, get them in the next week or two.
Right.
And then maybe we can meet, a couple, we can talk with Matt. And maybe, like I said, some of these things maybe just,
Maybe next Wednesday. Get your question.
right, yeah. And then just send
Discussion
them,
points.
send them just emails.
So questions to me by October 7th,
Yeah.
6.
6th, that's fine.
And just email them to Matt, and you could, you could copy the rest of us, if you don't reply to it. Just copy everybody else. And then we'll have a discussion. Of course, we're not going to vote on anything unless it's in public. We'll discuss all this. We can't change anything without talking about it at the next meeting. All right, does that sound good with everybody? All right, so we don't need to do anything with that. All right, for council discussion, to follow up this conversation from the meeting last week on the Onancock work session, Matt?
Yeah, in your packet, I adjusted the budget per item and added and removed any items that council suggested at the meeting on the 20th. At this point, it still balances. I can include all the items for support that council indicated for the last week.
Question that I had on that, and I'm not finding the thing in here. It showed first payment received June 30th, first payment received June 30th.
No,
We
it's a
got the
typo.
first payment twice.
Yeah, we've got the second payment June 20th of 2022. That's, so it should say second payment will be received June 20th of June 30th of 2022.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's fine.
I was puzzled over that.
January. Could you go over what you changed here?
Probably each of the line items changed mostly for dollar amounts to fit some of the other items that moved in. So I could gladly go down the list. We've decided for a police generator, which is going to take care of the police department, a GIS of the water.
Did that say the same?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
A GIS of the water system, which is basically a map of our water
So
system.
are you going in order?
I'm just going on the list.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the original.
Oh, I'm
that we
sorry.
had.
Okay, sorry. Okay,
And
sorry.
that's the revised. I did the same thing.
Okay, yeah, okay, okay. All right.
Start from the bottom.
I'm gonna get
It's going
there
down.
in just a minute.
I don't know what it
Okay.
said.
Downtown aesthetic. Did I spell it wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
AES.
Okay. Oh, correct.
Okay.
Many of the numbers changed
Okay.
because I needed to squeeze down some of the budgets to include the other items that got added.
What did it change?
Now, hold on a second, he's gonna go down the list and give it to each one as we go. Yeah.
I'm just asking what changed.
I don't know. What I'm saying is that the new dollar amounts are not to exceed budgets, and these are the items that you folks wanted. So I can go through and do a delta analysis, but I can't do it sitting.
No, just, yeah, we can expect it. Just put your fully relevant, I'll look at that if you have a question.
The water system, the police department and public bathroom renovation, the dog park, the northeast park, removal of the wood shop, the tower paint and seal, the hypo tank, which if you remember, that's where the hypochlorite that gets fed into our water system, security for the water tower, electricity at the water tower, air conditioning for the upstairs, a matching grant for Onancock businesses facades, Sunset Park, touchless faucets down at the Little League field, drainage ditch cleanouts throughout the community, valve isolation, and that's again for our water system to isolate where the valves are so we can be more surgical and turn the water off. Duck build at the wharf, cleaning out under the floating docks, that's the dredge. That one changed pretty dramatically. So, you know, I got a little bit more specific quote from the waterways people, and we had to increase that pretty substantially. Downtown aesthetics, thank you. Town square repairs, that's the gazebo, sidewalks, lighting, that type of thing. Walking path at the Little League complex, excavative support, and stormwater management. So the total comes to 1,256,432, and we've received our first payment of 628,216. So these are the projects that I intend to start.
So, couple of questions. Am I right in seeing the additions as the matching grant for facades? The downtown aesthetic on there, I don't think so.
It was called something different, but the dollar amount didn't change, and the excavative support.
Was an addition, and the walking path and the town square repairs are additions, right?
Correct.
And then the GIS of the police generator you could initially put as number one. GIS of the water system was farther down in the list. We bumped it up near the top.
Correct.
And the police department and public bathrooms, we bumped up.
Correct. Yeah, those were what I heard and wrote down as the top three priorities.
Yeah, I did a bunch of numbers here if you want to know what happens, say, calm down, Joey. Are you doing that?
That's what I'm doing.
Right, yeah, so it looks like the police department went up from 275 to 295. The dog park went down from 40 to 25. The northeast park went down from 50 to 35. The wood shop went down from 15 to 8. The tower paint and seal went down from 200 to 165. And the hypo tank went down from 75 to 8,000.
Yeah, I got a quote.
Wow, how you said that. Okay. Security, electric stayed the same, I think.
5 to 10.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm not. Yeah, it's that. And then air conditioning that was taken out, right?
Now, the
The air conditioning was kept, the elevator was
No, no,
kept.
it was taken out. So the air conditioning changed. Okay. Business facilities, what else do we got here? Valve isolation, that went down from 100 to 65. Drainage ditch clean out went from 15 to 7,500. Touchless Little League went from 5 to 3,500. Let's duck build it. That stayed the same. Duck build is 10 on the old one.
Yeah,
It's 10, stayed the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
Is downtown, what's the word after downtown?
Aesthetic.
Was it even on the number?
That was the banners. On the wall.
Oh, okay.
That went down a little bit. Okay, anybody have any questions about this?
So I'm assuming these are more accurate figures since you're coming up with it.
I'm trying to get more accurate.
Okay, so, what do you want?
Basically need your approval to start these. Now, keep in mind, nothing's written in stone, but I have to write my October 31st annual report to Treasury. And I need to include how we're going to be using the money by category. So that's what this was.
Right.
If we get down the road, then making this up, if the generator costs more or less, then we can still shift the dollars amount through and I have to report again to Treasury once we get dollar amounts through. But this is going to be the project list that I'm working on, and then I'll come back each month and say, this is where I am on each of these. This is the direction we're going. These are the quotes that I have so that you folks get an ongoing report of how the funds are being used.
So are we gonna authorize each thing as you propose it to us, or this is
I'm
authorizing?
saying, this is what I'm considering my ARPA project list.
Okay. And so if anything, my question is, are we authorizing you to spend this?
No,
Okay,
what I'm saying is that these are going to be the dollar amounts not to exceed.
right,
And I'm going to come back and say, this is where we are. These are the checks that we're starting to write. And then we're going to need to move, but I'm going to need to move faster than once a month meetings because I have to get quotes and I have to get those signed so that I can start the project moving forward. Give you an example. I've got a survey that I need to get for one of the projects and I'm on a 4-month wait already.
right.
So some of these things I actually need to move faster than a monthly meeting. So I'm going to say that this is a not to exceed budget. And I'm going to move forward with these, and then I'll give you monthly update reports on all of these projects.
So it is authorization to spend it up to not to exceed budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you're going to get monthly reports on every.
Well, there's a difference from a report and another vote on each item, is what I'm
No, I
saying.
wouldn't suggest another vote on each item.
Okay, all right.
You will get monthly reports as part of the financial package.
So, but are we following our procurement thing policy?
Which is
We are.
20,000.
We're following our procurement policy, and in addition, the additional requirements put out by Treasury for spending these funds.
Okay,
So it's actually a little bit more
okay.
What is
restricted.
our procurement policy, Mr. Mayor? Is it 20,000 council approval?
I don't remember right off the bat, it's somewhere in that range, it's maybe 20 or 25.
I'll get a copy of the
Yeah.
policy.
So how do we approve?
Well, that's my question. is, Well, I mean, this would be contingent on following the procurement policy of the town, right? Yeah, and if that requires us to vote on an item, we'll have to do it,
But you can't do that if you have to spend,
Oh.
I'm just looking, the new chlorine injection system in this comprehensive plan, is that the same as the hypo tank?
Yes.
Okay, so we've already said we need to do this and we're saying in our comprehensive plan, and then we're saying that's a priority because it's gotta do. But if you get a quote tomorrow for $58,000, do you not go? I
Well,
mean,
that's what you're telling me right now is if you're not approving me to expend these monies, and the only time I can get approval is by vote, I'm gonna have to wait a month.
No, I'm not saying, I'm saying that, I'm just saying, are we following the procurement policy? That's all, if we're doing that, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, what I would have to do is what I did similarly with the water tower painting.
Right,
And said, I need to get buy-in from each person individually so that I can get it on this person's calendar.
Right.
So,
Well, then that's just, I'm asking why we just vote on this as a maximum, to do that,
I think that would give me a lot of.
Yeah,
help.
if that's okay, I just need, and then if there's if you look at the procurement policy.
Yeah.
and it's confined to these items and it's, it can't.
I'm just trying
exceed that.
to cover him so that if he spends money and somebody says, oh, I didn't authorize him to do that.
I get you.
We gotta be able,
No, I appreciate that.
we gotta do everything, there's a lot of money here, we gotta
But
make
we
sure.
gotta do.
Yeah, that's
Do
fine.
you
in a timely
foresee
fashion.
approving any of these items before the October meeting?
Yes.
Which ones?
The generator. the removal of the wood shop. You've noticed that's actually gone already. I'm gonna have and the tower. Those are the three that I have actively underway.
Tower
I
paint and
also,
seal.
the tower paint and seal. I'm also gonna have quotes for surveying the floating docks so that I can get the permit for the dredging. So some of those things are already starting to talk. That's why I'm saying it's easier for me to get this approval and then give updates. And I'm happy to do weekly updates via email about what's going on and whatnot. But what I don't want to do is get behind every contractor or every other town that's looking for a contractor.
There are certain things in here that are not going to require, or that would require a contractor involvement, and that does take a process. But there are things like the dog park that does not, that's you figure it out and then.
It's also
So that's
getting a
something
bid
that
on
will
the
come.
fencing and things
Right.
like that. So
So that's not a drop dead tomorrow kind of deal. And there are just a few things that fall in that category.
Well, let's, I mean,
I agree with what you said, to go ahead and approve this.
right, yeah.
I think we should go ahead and approve the ones that you're going to do this month.
Well, we have to approve it to send in. And then if you want to pick whatever specific things, to do that.
email, I mean, I need to be able to write the report. And this is gonna help me write the report. As far as what I act on, I can send you a list of where I am with each of the projects.
Right.
So if, for example, I've got to get somebody to do electric at the tower. If I've got an electrician coming in to work on the generator, I might very well be able to add that to, the project. So a lot of this is going to be moving pieces.
I have no problem with voting on it, and then voting on it, like I said, and then follow the procurement policy of the town and let you go from there. I think we have to vote on everything individually. And just keep us updated on, some of these things aren't going to get done. For instance, the dog park, I think the council would probably like to see a plan of the dog park.
Yeah, I
what
mean,
we can
that's,
do.
I met with Ray, he came out, I'm getting a drawing of the dog park that I've got to get from the surveyor, and then I've got to go back and
Right.
OBCA because they've contributed so much to this. I want their input and design. So, that's going to take some time. I don't see any real cost coming up right now, but it's still going to take that.
Right, and there's not, that obviously the renovations to the building next door is going to be, that's
That's a long project.
That's a long project. Yeah, so that's my, Ray, you happy with the comments?
No, I mean, I would be okay with supporting the, moving with, plan for tonight. If we, approve the budget, as is provided tonight, then, if there's, additional costs, I think we have to approve that.
No, clearly. And you'll get weekly updates, so you'll be able to see if I got a quote for the generator that's less than this, then I'll be able to say, hey, I got a quote for it that's less than this, and we need to move, and then I can shift a couple of the dollars to another project, or, like for the generator, I've got to put a cement pad in, I've got to decide where that's going to be, there might be prep work that has to be done, so it's got to be the whole project, not just the cost of it. So all of those little legs, you're going to get updates on, but the cost won't exceed this dollar amount. I can't do
Dawn,
Great.
you okay with that?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yeah,
Okay.
so in essence, we are approving and appropriating.
Yes. And then you'll get weekly or monthly updates with status on each of the projects.
All right, so we have a motion to, no, I have to share it.
Oh, yeah, I did say it was.
I have a question. So we're going to do the police appointment, public back bathroom renovation for $275,000. And under the allocation for Main Street, they talk about doing public restrooms.
That's
Different,
they requested it, but we're gonna do it, but that they're gonna, you know, remember we decided we weren't having set in stone where that public restroom is gonna be. So I think Main Street and the town are going to get together and to come up with a whole design for this thing, but Main Street was just asking for public bathrooms, but they don't need the money for themselves if we're gonna do it.
right, so that's gonna be
Right,
not part of their
No,
allocation. Okay,
no,
that's
no,
what I was
no,
asking.
not at all.
Can I just ask one more question, and it's just ignorance on my part because I've lost track of it. What is GIS water system?
It's an electronic mapping of our entire water system, where all the valves are, the
Okay,
direction
and
of.
shut-offs and all that, I remember. Okay, figure it out, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna need a motion. You had something appropriately already used there.
I move that we adopt this plan and consider it appropriation as well as approval to proceed.
I second it.
Any discussion? And we're gonna follow, obviously, town, procurement policies, right? You know. Any discussion?
Did you get approval for Little Lake to put in the walking path?
That's why I'm saying all of this is not to exceed, but there's a lot of legs that go up against stuff.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Matt. That was a lot of work, and it's probably just beginning. So that's exciting, to be able to spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
It is on the town, and a lot of good things are coming out of it. And I assume you're gonna get up with groups that are basically giving money, like Asset, stuff like that.
Yeah, a little bit of that's gonna, what I'll do is, that doesn't require a purchase policy because it's already been appropriated. So at this point, we'll just work on timing.
Right, and you can only spend half of the money, right? Because you don't have the other half.
Well, that's why I want to go through the priorities.
Right. Right, we gotta wait. Okay.
They may, or a portion of it.
All right. 5-year financial plan, discussion purpose.
Yeah. I put this out there because we've reached a point where council's adopted financial policies. Assume that you're going to adopt in substance the comprehensive plan. You've reviewed the capital plan. And now we've got the ARPA project that's been listed out. So my proposal is that we put together a long-term financial plan for the town that shows our estimated revenue growth by line items so that we can start to see, given all of these initiatives that we're taking on, given the sources of funds that we have, we should be able to put together a long-term plan that says, okay, given all of these things, this is the direction the town is going to go financially. This is what the tax rates would need to be in order to, for example, do the 3-year plan for the police department that you already reviewed, that type of thing. So starting to roll all of this together so that we can start looking down the road and saying, okay, if we do this now and we do this now, we can start to look and see what the impact on everybody is going to be. It's time. Now we've got all of the pieces together. I think it's time that we put together one good 5-year financial plan. Now, this doesn't tie council to anything. I mean, it doesn't create the next year's budget. It doesn't do anything other than say, if we wanted to do this, these are the changes that we might have to think about. And that's going to give us good amounts of time to have conversations like that. I don't want to do this now. I want to do this then. And you can start to piece things together so that we can have a nice smooth 5 years and no surprises. I don't like financial surprises.
And a couple of workshops along the way.
Oh, yeah. No, this is just, I wanted to get together and say, now that we've got all these things, the reserves, the comp plan, the capital
Sure, we're
plan,
understanding every bit of it, every step.
and you can see how it's going to affect cash flow and how it's going to affect tax rates and how it's going to affect all of those things. So you'll be able to see where we're going rather than being so reactive. We can be a little more proactive. So that's really it. As far as the process is concerned, honestly, we've already started in my office. I've already got a template figured out. I've got the police plan. I've got the work plan that we already reviewed, factored in. I've got wages for staff. I've got changes to those things that we know that are coming up. So we're starting to put together what it looks like anyway. So now it's just going to be able to come forward in a format that looks very familiar and gets a full comprehensive financial plan, not just pieces at a time. Okay, so you're not going to see it anytime real soon, but you'll start to see bits and pieces of it. I'll send things out via email and say, this is what it's going to look like. Do you understand the way it's going to read? Do you have any questions? Do you want anything added or removed? That type of thing. Because this is your plan, but it's going to be what we use to guide ourselves. Does that make sense?
Works for me.
Okay.
Question about the first page of it,
I don't have it in here. There's no such thing.
of the financial.
Yeah, that's just that's your monthly financial statements. Yeah. I'm happy to answer questions about that. So.
Bless you.
Well, let's do that in the town manager.
Sure.
We got people in line already. And the last council discussion here before public comment is the trash can allowance.
Okay. The story is this: we had a local business who was receiving trash service but not paying for additional cans. The trash company took it upon themselves to go to that business and remove the cans that weren't being paid for. It obviously caused disruption to the local business person. When I heard about it, I said, okay, hang on a second. You can't make independent decisions like that. Bring the cans back, but yes, we have to look at this. So we went in and we looked at the process, or the procedure is that any person or business who receives more than one tote or one can pays Davis privately or independently for the additional cans or dumpsters. So if it's a business that gets a roll-off dumpster, they pay Davis directly for that. If they get 5 additional cans because they generate a lot of trash, they pay Davis directly for that. So we've been talking to Davis about how we can better help them in their billing, how they can help us, but we can also be consistent town-wide, because I don't want to see one person paying and one person not. That's just not fair. So the next part of the conversation was, well, there are other residences that have more than one tenant, a duplex, for example, where they only get one can because our policy says it's one can per water meter, because that's how they get billed, is with their water account. But if we have one house that has 3 apartments and they only have one water meter, then you've got 3 families trying to put everything in one can. That didn't seem reasonable to me either. So I've been talking with Davis and saying, look, we'd like to stabilize this to be 1 can per business and 1 can per residence, not just per water meter. That seemed to make the most sense. And then if any business needs to have more than that, they do what they're currently doing and pay Davis directly. We still have that one business who had been receiving free trash service for a while. So before I went and started communicating with this, I wanted to make sure that council was in agreement that it would be 1 can per business. And then anything above that, they have to pay Davis directly. And then 1 can per resident, which means if it's a duplex, they get 2 cans. If there's, if 3 apartments in a building, they get 3 cans. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All
A
right.
little bit, there's a,
No.
if it's a restaurant that is causing the excess volume, every restaurant should be required to have a dumpster size.
Well, some restaurants just simply don't have the real estate to have a dumpster,
Okay.
but those who use additional trash do have additional dumpster cans that they pay for.
Okay, so if there's no space for a dumpster, but if there is space for a dumpster, it should be a dumpster. Because that eliminates the 3 cans, 4 cans kind of situation. What about, there are residences that have put out more than 1 can often. and kind of regularly that I've noticed. And there's only one meter there, there's only one family there, and how do you deal with them?
Well, there are a few homes in town who do pay for the additional can. It's just under 10, so it's not that many, but there are homes who choose to pay Davis for an additional can.
And we know this?
We know that I asked Davis to give me a full accounting of everybody who pays them additional.
Okay.
So that now I've got a list of everybody in town who pays for additional cans or a dumpster. So I know that. So if there are, the reason that I'm bringing this forward is if there are homes, I'll say, who don't pay for that additional can and have a can from days gone by, we're gonna have to figure out what to say to those folks other than you pay for one, you get one, for the simple fact that you have two from back in the day. If you use two, we're gonna charge you first. This is where everything becomes very personal at this moment. And I'm trying to get out there in front of it so that it doesn't get personal, but we understand that things that affect people's daily lives are personal.
Does the person who does the pickup make notes as they go or something to let you know this?
She's starting to, because we want to make sure that we stabilize this and get it fair to everybody. Also, I've asked that they don't take cans from anybody without letting us know so that we can communicate with it rather than just pulling it
Right.
and having it, somebody be shocked and say, wait a minute, I bought this can from Davis 10 years ago. You know, I need to be able to have the conversation. And because it's up to 10 people in town, it's not that many conversations. I don't want to have them. I just want to make sure that before we make a change to the negative, that we're all in agreement that that's what's going to happen.
But you're not making a change, actually, you're just enforcing the
Yeah.
current policy, as far as I can tell.
Well, it's enforcing the current policy, but I want to do it with thoughtfulness because it is going to affect people's personal lives. And I can't just go up and take the can because.
Well, if you know who it is, then you communicate with that person, and I agree with that, but I'm just saying what we're dealing with is our current policy is already in place.
And that's what I probably will do is ask for an ordinance to be changed to match the current contract with Davis. And then also have it align with what we're talking about tonight is one per business, one per residence, not necessarily per meter.
I have a question, two questions. One is that I put out 3 cans on Ames Street, but they're from 3 different properties. So if you go by and see 3 cans sitting there, it's 3 different water meters. So I'm not,
And we would-
it looks like I'm putting out 3 cans for myself, but I'm not. It's like, there's 3 properties, there's 3 houses there.
And it's just easier for you to put the
Sure.
three together.
Yeah, it's easier for the people to pick it up, it's one stop, yeah, they've never, and I've had them, I have some old cans left over from when we had a contract with a different company, and I've gotten several stickers on saying they won't accept those anymore. So, I gotta get it.
Oh, it's because of that mechanical.
Well, they seem to be the same to me, and I pay for an extra can up at the office. Directly, I only had one they were picking up. And I paid for an extra one, and they told me about a year or two ago, they told me I had to start doing that, but.
And this is exactly why I want to have those conversations before we start taking people's cans away.
In all fairness, I don't pay for any trash, sir. We have several places in town that don't have water meters that have houses. How are you gonna handle that?
I don't know yet.
Okay, but you.
But I think that if somebody lives there, we want to make sure that they have their trash picked
But
up.
they should pay the trash fee though.
I couldn't agree more.
They have water meters, but no trash.
I have my office and the 2 houses next to me.
Hill Street too,
On Hill
doesn't
Street,
have a
there's
lot
couple
of,
hou- yeah,
it only goes so far on the water
Yeah.
line, and there's a bunch more houses that are in
yeah,
town.
so,
They have what?
They don't, the water service, and
So I have a well at the office, and the 2 people next to me have wells as well. And I've never been, I'm not, I hate to brag out my neighbors, but, we need to have a policy for that kind of thing. I know there are other houses as well. So,
And that's,
So would they get
we're just trying to get a full accounting of all of this and just treat everybody the same. And I understand that some people are gonna have,
we're gonna get some feedback.
we're gonna get some feedback.
Even if they have a well, would they get garbage pickup?
Well, they currently do because they're in the town.
Yeah, they don't
haven't
know.
been billed because they don't get a water.
They don't know who's got water, who doesn't,
Right.
the big people picking it up.
So if we have an all-encompassing policy, then that's what we can refer to going forward.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try. So that's why I wanted to put it out there. You're all gonna get a copy of an ordinance. If this changes anybody's service, you may hear from those folks. And I just want to make sure that we're all in agreement about what direction we're headed. We're not there yet. It's gonna take us a couple months to get there, I'm sure, but I just want to make sure that if anybody's gonna receive less service, they understand that it's because that they didn't pay for it.
So, question,
Sure.
do you have a feel for how many situations like what Fletcher just described in your mention of the Hill Street area? How many there are that are getting the trash service that are not getting a water bill and therefore not being billed at all?
For you on the fairgrounds.
Yeah, the ones that are obvious are the ones on fairgrounds, but also as she goes through and takes notes about who's got more cans, who's got less cans, we're gonna be able to go through and look at that and say, okay, these places are don't receive water bills but are in the town limits, and we'll be able to go through and do that. It's not, that's why I'm saying it's not a short project. It's one that I just want to make sure we're careful about, but I didn't want to take it on if you guys are just like, okay, leave it the way it is and don't bother anybody.
My question is that the Davis complains when the garbage is overflowing and the lid is not down flat. But they don't want you to have two garbage cans. But there are two houses on my street. One has 5 people in it, the other one has 7. The garbage is always overrunning if they try to use one garbage can. And we had an incident last month and they called, my tenant called here to find out why the garbage people were not picking up the second can. Because she was allowed to take her next door neighbor's can until he supposedly got his house fixed. Anyway, they would not take it. 2 weeks in a row, they wouldn't take it. And so I suggest she call here to speak to Lisa, and she did. And Lisa had her call Davis, and David explained to her that it was, that was the first time I ever knew that. You were only supposed to have 1 can per household.
Right. Unless you pay additional.
Right, but it's not to be overflowing. But with 5 people in her house, there's no way she could have garbage that didn't overflow from Wednesday to Wednesday. So we did come up with an agreement that because I live alone and I have very little garbage because I recycle almost everything. Every other week, she's allowed by me to use my spot.
Right.
Because she lives just right next door. And so every other week, that second garbage can that's full, she gets to put in front of my house, and I don't set garbage out at all. But I just didn't understand the logic. I feel like if maybe, just maybe, if people need to have a second garbage can, and now that I understand it, then maybe they should be billed on, maybe they should know that they're going to be billed for it.
And that's, that piece of communication is what I want to make sure everybody gets and understands. So before any changes, before somebody goes and takes a can that they, the Davis didn't think they deserved or anything like that, I just want to make sure we all agree where we're headed, and then how we get there from here, I can take that.
And
Right.
Well, it's a matter of public policy. I think it's a good idea that we try to reduce the amount of garbage. So if you've got 1 can, you really need to recycle a little better than you're doing.
Right, unfortunately, so many people here on the Eastern Shore will not recycle. Well, see, in New Jersey, we had to, in the city that I lived in, you had to recycle. So I was used to recycling. So when they had all the meetings and everything about setting up that recycling here on the Eastern Shore, I went to all the meetings because I was used to it. I've never put a cereal box in the trash. I never put an empty milk container in the trash. I was used to recycling, and I missed that. And and even before they started that, I did a lot of separating my trash. And so when they started to recycle, I just went right back into the groove of doing it. I had did it for 10 years before coming back to Virginia. So you talking now, that's 38 years of separating my trash and using the recycle. But a lot of people will not do it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to know what is the additional cost?
I don't know yet. Oh, for a can?
Yes.
$20 a month.
I'm not sure what they
I
charge.
think I paid $20.
We
a month.
charge.
We charge
22.
$8 a
Yeah,
month,
that's the old thing.
but it's
22.
But if we charge
for 2
eight,
months, right?
Yeah, 20, it's $11 a month.
It's more than that for a commercial thing.
okay,
It's more,
so.
well, it's not more than that for a can, it's more than that for a dumpster.
No,
Okay,
I pay more than that for the
But
extra one.
$11 a month
Well,
is
that's what
less
you pay
than
directly.
getting
Yeah.
than 2 cans straight up. So then that wouldn't be so terrible.
That's why I just want to make sure we all.
I'm just saying
As long
that
as we're all in
that's
agreement
an
of where we're going.
alternative to offer to people who need 2 cans or who are overrunning. I mean, for that $11, I'm sure they'd be happier to have another can.
Probably.
Already.
Hang on, Ray had a question.
sorry.
Almost forgot. Does this extra payment go through the town or does it go directly to the native?
That's what we're working through with them to try to figure out if it would make more sense for us to do that billing or for them to continue to do it. So all of those conversations are underway.
Any more questions on the trash cans?
Yes,
Sure.
I was under the impression that we pay Davis per weight, so it really pays for the residents of the town to recycle, correct?
Well, it will in the next contract. What they do is they base the current contract off the previous year's tipping. And then that way they can divide it by the number of stops and all of that. And that's how we get charged. So this will, if we double the number at multiple tenancy dwellings, there is going to be a small change for the town. We'll figure that out, but I don't think it's going to be all that meaningful, to be honest.
The weight's not gonna go up to 24 cans.
No, it'll just be. And Sarah?
I would suggest, and I suspect it's part of your intention, but I just want to confirm that there will be a letter to go out to all town residents with all the gory details of the ifs, ands, buts, ors, and nots.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the best way to increase costs from postage and all of that. I don't like to send out a lot of, mass mailings. But yeah, we're gonna communicate this well.
But there are people who would not get it if it were only
I
electronic.
absolutely understand.
Then please encourage them to
Put it
recycle.
on their score.
I do.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. More to come.
Right, thank you. Trash can. Trash can. All right, public comment on anything? Anything? Planning board.
On the trash cans, am I to understand that if you don't have a water meter and you do have a garbage can, you're not paying for garbage, but it's getting picked up?
That's correct.
We're looking into that much closer.
No, I can tell you that's correct.
Okay.
It's correct for you, but I don't know that that's a
I
worldwide.
don't know, but there are not that many.
No.
I probably, how many on 6 or 7? That's about it.
Okay, because I know there's a house on, I'm pretty sure there's a house on Justice that doesn't have water either. And they get garbage, so there's sporadic.
Well, the problem is, they decide to pick up the trash, they don't know who's got water, who doesn't.
Oh,
Yeah. And then
right.
historically, been doing the whole thing.
It's up to you guys to
Well,
police that.
my point is, we're gonna have a fair policy, we've got to include everybody, that's why, brought that up, I don't want to continue. We're gonna, because the owner of this business is gonna complain and say, well, we're getting free trash pickup, and we gotta.
As a taxpayer, I'm complaining too.
It's not costing that.
But still.
Yeah, no, you're right, no.
I also have some other questions. Why is Matt been working in the Public Works Department?
Yeah, it's.
Well, I wanna work
Dream
there.
of mine,
Yeah, I'd rather do that than do what you're doing now, but why is he doing
Yeah.
Sure, why is Matt shipping? I sent this email off to council a while back, and it's a great question, because you'll pay me fairly, and you
Got that
you
right.
overpay me to chip. We have when HRSD takes the employees from the plant, we still manage our clean water system. I've got a person who's going to be going through his apprenticeship to get his level 4 license. He starts that apprenticeship in January. And I need to make sure that he's going to be successful at that before we fill the open position that we have in DPW. So we have an open position right now because somebody left of their own accord. So I have that opening. That's the person who would normally be chipping. If my person who's going to run the clean water department is successful, and I believe he will be in his apprenticeship, then I'm going to backfill that DPW slot. If he's not, then I'm going to put him back in DPW and I have to hire a water technician. Two different beasts, and if I have to hire a water technician, it's going to be much more expensive than my current situation. So long-term, we're saving a lot, and I'm making sure that I'm securing that long-term employee's job if he doesn't succeed at the apprenticeship to get his license. So I'm really doing it so that I can make sure long-term we maintain our current employees, and then long-term we hire the right person for the long-term needs of the town without adding anybody. So in the short term, yeah, I'm sucking it up and I'm working a few extra hours and doing some things I'd just soon not do. But long-term, we're going to have the best people doing the right job for the town. And I don't want to just hire somebody now and then have a problem 5 months down the road if my apprenticeship doesn't go as well as I hope.
Well, hearing your explanation of it leads me to believe that we are working shorthanded even when we're filled, when we're properly staffed. Because if someone calls in sick, that means that you may have to go out and do that job.
Yeah, I mean,
So maybe the town should be looking to hire 2 public works staff instead of 1, so that, because we're paying you a lot of money, and just listening to what's going on with everything that you have to do, you don't need to be out on the street doing those jobs.
well, I
And
think
it's
yeah, I would rather do it
inefficient.
to protect it. So if you're not losing anything in the town manager role, you're picking that up for the near term so that we can protect a long-term employee. So I'm doing it for the long term of the town. And then in that 5-year plan I was just mentioning, there is another body
Because there
a couple
really
years
should be.
out. Yeah, there should be, because Terry right now is crushing it out there, but he's doing it by himself. So he works incredibly hard. If y'all see him out there, let him know that I said that. But he's working very
I just
hard.
think that you're being paid an awful lot of money to do a very financially explicit job. And any day that you could be doing it, that you're not doing it, is hurting this town.
Well, I'm also on a salary and I work extra hours. So, and that doesn't cost the town a nickel. So I would rather work the extra hours and make sure that we protect our long-term employee than hire somebody right now that might not be the long-term solution for the town.
I'm not saying hire someone right now. I'm saying in the future, we shouldn't be seeing you back out.
In the future, you won't. It's short-lived because also after the wharf closes, our harbor master becomes a DPW employee, and you're going to see his shining face out in the streets, not mine.
Oh.
So that's also the reason it's really short-term. I mean,
Okay.
my dream of chipping only has one more reality day. And then I'm done, because by the time the season ends for the boating and Craig goes back there, we'll know whether or not our apprenticeship is working. And in the meantime, then I'll be able to hire exactly the right person. So we're really shorthanded for the next 4 weeks. And then after that, things move over and it'll stabilize.
Hopefully there'll be no emergencies in the next 4 weeks.
Amen.
I just have another question.
Yeah.
What is the staff? We're spending a lot of money on our police department. What is our staffing now? What is our approved staffing? And what are we doing to reach our approved staffing?
We're budgeted for 5 officers. We currently have 4 hired. 2 of them are non-certified. They're off at the academy right now. They'll be there through just after the January holiday. and they need 240 hours under a current officer to be certified, and then we'll have 4 of our 5 positions filled. As far as what we're doing to secure that 5th, we're doing everything that the sheriff's department only and all the other towns are doing to try to hire a rural police officer. It's a very hard hire, but we're all out there, and we do have the job opening posted, and we're doing all we know how to do to attract and retain the best.
And after those police officers get out of the academy, and get their 240 hours under an active police officer, what's preventing them from leaving us and going to the county?
Yeah. That's the risk of doing it this way. There's no question that there is part of their contract means that they have to pay back part of the cost of the academy cost, but I mean, it's a lot of money as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to write you the check for it, but as far as teeth in the contract, that's about as tight as we can get. So if they leave before 3 years after their certification, they have to pay us back something.
Okay.
But if another department were to write them a signing bonus for that amount, there's nothing that would keep them here.
How does our police officer's salary compare to the county?
As far as starting officers, we're about 95% of that. Our 3-year plan that the council looked at and sort of approved in concept is that within 3 years, our police officer will be paid in the top 3 departments on the shore, and will remain at that level so that we're not trying to give people market adjustment raises all the time. We'll keep up with the Joneses. So we've got a long-term plan that brings us up to a competitive marketplace.
Okay. Thank you.
So, do you have a question? No. Okay, you want public comment? Okay, thank you. Committee reports, HRSD.
Yeah, you want to good?
Yeah.
Okay. If you remember, we had the last checkbox that we're waiting to check is for the USDA to give us a release on the grant portion of their loan. So if you remember back in 2009, we received a loan to build the plant. A portion of that was a grant. So USDA is making sure that they can they can pay off the loan and not have to get any of the grant paid back. Does that make sense? So today I wrote the last request that USDA had was they wanted to make sure that the DEQ loan that we got that also had a grant component did not require any grant recovery. The DEQ loan back in 2009 does not, it has a performance component, not a property component, which means that as long as we continue to provide sewer and wastewater services, they don't want any of their grant back. I wrote a letter to USDA today. I'm happy to give you a copy of it if you want. It's a really dry read about why HRSD has in their charter that they cannot take on any mortgages or loans. They also are going to be continuing with the performance feature of the original DEQ and EPA requirements. So I wrote that out in a letter. USDA received it today. Our counsel, Pender and Coward, said it was a great letter and that it should pass this thing through. Once we get the release from USDA, which I believe will come, I think this just needs to sit in somebody's folder. Once they do that release, then we're 3 days, basically 3 days from closing on it. So as fast as USDA gives us this release, we'll start to close, and that's when the employees will transfer over. That's when, USDA or HRSD rather has all their trucks down there. I mean, they're ready to come in and assume operation. I'm just waiting for this. So and if you want to read a horrifically dry letter, I will gladly shoot you a copy.
Thank you. Waterfront tickets.
Yeah, we did. I have an update. Bob asked me to read this. Teely wrote it, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'll hand this off to Lisa in a minute. It says Craig has begun reduced hours at the marina, 8 to 4:30, 7 days a week until October 31st. The marina will close on 10/31 for the season. Fuel will be available by appointment after 10/31. We're asking for 24 hours, make an appointment, we'll meet you there and pump your fuel. It was agreed upon council's approval to continue renting slip M1, that's the one behind Mallard's, as well as the overflow parking lot on King Street on a seasonal basis. Let me just read, okay. Projects slated to begin ASAP after the season were discussed, including bulkhead repair, pavement repair in and around the new boat ramp, replacement of the lighting and water pedestals, including a new power hookup and the new duckbill in the parking lot side. October's waterfront meeting will be held Tuesday, the 12th at 5:30 p.m. in council chambers. I'm going to add one thing to this. I got notice today that the asphalt company is scheduled to come next week to put the, to finish the job down at the ramp. So there is going to be a window when the ramp won't be available, when the asphalt is being laid. I don't know specifically when that's going to be. I'll use our email and texting and social media when it does become known. And I let Craig know today that if he's got frequent or daily users or whoever, please let them know that this is coming and we don't want them to get stranded out there. So that is the waterfront.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
You said fuel will be available by appointment. I remember a couple of years ago, Lisa was running down there or something to fill an appointment somebody needed. How is that happening? Am I right, Lisa?
I did.
Yeah, with Craig working in DPW, if they make an appointment, all we have to do is let him know they're going to be there at 10 o'clock. He can run down at 10. Last year, we had him sitting there between 12 and 1 every day, and he'd get, one sale every other week. So we were paying them to sit down there, and that bothers me to pay somebody to do what they're, to not do anything. So if they also our new phone system allows, if they call there, because we've got one large fuel customer who doesn't necessarily announce themselves with an appointment, but we want the sale. So we're going to forward the calls to a cell phone, so he'll get calls as they come in. So the appointments, I think it's going to work better. We'll make it work better. I don't want to pay somebody to just sit down there and look at the freight.
Well, I was just concerned about Lisa just having to pick up and run down.
Well, we all have been trained on how to put gas, so if Craig's out sick, we don't have to, the wharf doesn't close, you know what I mean? Yeah, man.
It's actually been a while since I've done it.
So, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Any other questions on waterfront? Thank you. All right. Planning commission, I guess,
In addition to the comp plan, it's discussing the homestay / Airbnb policy. I think we've reached, the next one will be version 4 of that. And I think it's fairly soon coming to your desk. I would think that you'll probably see a recommendation for your discussion in November. Until then, we still have a moratorium on Airbnbs. I have 3 applications on my desk that have been paid.
These are the same 3 applications that came in right away.
I had 2 right away, and the third just popped in 2 weeks ago. And that person's been told about the moratorium and about the timing of the
Realtors know that there's a moratorium. Has anybody communicated that to them?
I haven't spoken specifically to the realtors in town. I get calls from realtors from out of town, and I let them know that this is, that there's a moratorium.
Why are the realtors from out of town calling?
For
What are they
investment
asking?
property,
Excuse me?
for people who want to buy investment property.
can we let the local, can you send them an email?
Yeah, yes. I mean,
It's a little bit of preventive, it might prevent some headaches. There's only 2.
right, it's been,
3.
yeah, Yeah, I was gonna say, it's been 3 months. So.
Yeah, they probably know, yeah.
So they
Email
should
would
put
mention
a
it.
formal notice of it, you know, because realtors have a habit of saying, you can do this and you
Oh,
can do
well,
that.
that's not gonna stop that.
No,
No,
but
it
at
won't.
least you can say, we told you so.
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm
no
not
problem.
disparaging real estate people, shoot, if a realtor's watching.
I appreciate your support.
Anyway, all right, and then, okay, that was it for the planning commission. All right, personnel, we can okay. My report, I don't have much here. Governor was here on Saturday. I don't know if you all came or not. Everybody, people were there. I thought it was a great day morning. I guess we dedicated the love sign, dedicated the elevator, and dedicated the playground. I don't know if you've been out to the playground lately, but they've done a lot of the concrete work, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I'll tell
Yes,
you,
it is.
it is really, I was impressed with they got the little sunshade up on the patio. They got all kinds of picnic tables. Even if you don't have any kids, it's a great place to go have a picnic. And the playground is just, they did a great job. I mean, I helped out. It was hard work putting that thing together. And it's really a big addition to the town. And glad to see it. So they did, and the governor was, very appreciative. And I think he's going to try to help the school. He said he was looking to see what he could do before he gets out and help them out with some, some grants or, help see what he can do. And obviously, he went to school there. So, Main Street is having when's that coming up, October?
It's a workshop with a representative from National Main Street. It's October 20th. It's small representative groups have been invited.
The council,
Council is one of the representative groups. You need you to RSVP.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, we put up, there's a sign, Main Street sign coming in town, put that up this afternoon. The ones we got 3 Main Street signs to that, so it's until we get something decided about that, I guess eventually we're gonna redo that sign out there, but it's a long-term project. It's sort of,
You didn't cover up my garden out there, did you?
oh no, it's like,
I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
I work hard on that.
no, it's not.
That's
It's not,
volunteer. I do that on weekends.
it's not in front of it, it's this side. Of the
All right, I'm just
sign, yeah.
making sure.
Yeah. It's
It's
right there.
along in there with the for sale sign.
Yeah,
on that
exactly.
field.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it's not in front of it, no, it's not. It'll be there, like I said, it's a sign that Main Street gave us, a nice little sign. All right, I thought we were talking about that. Anyway, and that's all I have. Not bad.
I'm gonna run through it. I've talked a lot about what was in your written report, but I've got some updates on the bulkhead project, just so everybody knows. I'll say it out loud. We're not going to do the construction of the bulkhead during boating season, but the way that this is working is we've already got we've got permit drawings done. So we're going to start getting our permit soon. So as long as we can get to the county, state, and Army Corps and put it out to bid right after that, I'm hoping that we'll be able to start in, right around the holidays and finish up in March. So that's the dream. If it doesn't work out, we'll kick the can down the road until next year, but we've got the permit drawings done. The small business recovery grant, which if you remember, we got $450,000 for distributing to local businesses for housing and retooling costs. That one's coming to an end. So anybody who wants their application considered, please submit it to us by October 1st. If you have any questions about anything, please get in touch with us. We still have about half of the money to distribute. We're obviously not going to give away all $450,000. That's fine. We've given it away to everybody who has come in the door with qualified expenses. It's easy money. We're doing our best to give it all away. So far we've given away about 230, give or take, 230,000. And that's a lot of money into our local businesses. So I'm really thrilled that we were able to do it.
You have to return the balance, or do you only?
We only get reimbursed for it. So I'm not earning interest on the money.
So Matt, does that include nonprofits? And have you heard from nonprofits?
Oh, yeah, no, we've given money to nonprofits. Yeah, no, there's lots of money going out, you know, lots of money.
I have a question. Are these applications public record?
I would think the majority of the information is proprietary, although who receives an award is public.
Yeah, I would
But
say.
they're sharing their financials.
I know that there are people that is the application public record?
I would say that the application itself is, but not the supporting documentation. I would say that who we paid is because
Yeah,
of disbursement of funds.
Yeah.
But
But
as
you
far
have
as
to
the,
submit profit and loss statements and things like that. Is that going to be, is that?
no, that's only reviewed by the project management team and DHCD.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
I think that's about it. Yeah, I've done so much talking tonight. I think that's about it for me.
Okay. All righty, well, that brings us down to council comments. We don't have anybody? Joy?
Yes. I talked with Fletcher and Matt about this. We had a dead fox in our yard a couple of weekends ago, and it was mangy. And there is another one out there that is even more mangy than this one was. So I tried to get some guidance on what to do with a dead fox in town, and it's unsuccessful. So we buried it. And at 9:30 at night, I did get a call from Wes Green from the health department. And he said that he would be out the next morning at 9:30 to retrieve the fox. And I said, well, we buried the fox. And he said, no problem, I'll dig it up. And I said, well, we limed the fox. And he said, no problem, I'll dig it up. And he did. He came out the next morning at 9:30. He dug up the fox and he sent it off to Richmond for testing for rabies, which he felt was absolutely necessary because we live in a neighborhood with children and pets. And thankfully it came back negative. So I talked to him about the procedure. I recognized that this was a Sunday, which made it difficult. But here's the procedure, and I shared this with Matt. Call the health department at 757-787-5880. And there's a phone tree with a dog bite or rabies, press 8. And that's what I did. And that is the environmental health number. They're open from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Monday through Friday. But you leave a message and he would have immediately, it says they will call you back within 30 minutes. And he would have done that, except technology. My message went into his own messages and he apologized and apologized and apologized. So that's first thing you should do if you suspect rabies or a dog bite. The second thing is, and I would do it also, is call 911 and tell the dispatcher to call the animal control officer who is on call 24/7. I didn't get anywhere with them, but that's what he suggested we should do. Because as you know, we've had a rabid raccoon in town at one time. And we live in a wildlife.
Well, the 911 didn't get anywhere because it was a dead fox, and you said it was a live fox. I think they would have shown.
I didn't get anywhere with anything with them, just a fox that I was concerned with. They sent me to wildlife resources. That didn't go anywhere. And then the second time I called, they called. I'm sorry, do you have a question?
No, I just, this is the second time that there's been a fox loose, and I just saw one.
Oh, there's lots of foxes.
Well, I'm just saying, I said 9:30 in the morning is unusual.
Yeah.
And I just saw it 2 days ago.
We see a lot of foxes, but this one was really mangy. The one we saw before this was complete mange. It had no hair at all. It looked like a chihuahua. So I think it's a death. I think that, it's probably one. So there are resources there.
Anybody, anything else?
No, that's okay.
Two things. Did I see in notes somewhere that the armory is now being built, water bill that they had not been before, right? Okay. HOS is still paying a minimum. They are not,
They don't pay us unless they exceed like 42,000 gallons.
okay. So can you make or is there a possibility to do the same or similar for Escadie? To consider it, because that would be so helpful to them as an organization that is doing so much to at least not have to worry about that.
For the town to underwrite part of Escadille's water bill.
Exactly. Thank you.
I will absolutely look at the water policy, because when we did a review with you folks, which is gotta be 9 months ago now, we had talked about first responder rates and things like that, because we're gonna have to meter the fire department, for example, and they've never gotten anything. So what we wanted to do is put a rate together that was so ridiculously low that it wouldn't be a financial consideration. But at the same time, we meet our bond covenants in that every user is, yes.
Okay.
So that's what we're working on. So if we wanted to put together inside of that, something like a nonprofit rate or something like that, we can go through and do that.
I don't remember.
I don't think we can pick and choose stuff,
Okay,
because
I just don't remember.
the
how
school
we
is
did
in
it.
our
School,
building.
and it's our building. I
Right,
understand the
right.
difference.
Same thing with the Blacksmith office. That's our
Right, I
building, the
understand.
school is our building. Ask it in.
But it's something that just seems to be worth exploring.
How does I thought HRSD is gonna do the sewer. They're gonna be okay with that?
Who?
Don't they control the sewer bill?
Yes.
So how are we gonna have any effect on the Escadille with the sewer bill? We just don't have water.
Yeah, it would just be water. We would have no, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we would have absolutely no control over HRSD's bill.
Okay, just want to get that clear.
Yeah. No, good, it's a good clarification.
So HRSD will bill everybody for sewage,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah,
The fire department's gonna start paying sewage bill?
Yeah. And I've talked with Chief James about this. This isn't something.
Yeah, right, I didn't say.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that's.
Okay, well, that's good. Okay, so we'll look into that. Sarah?
Just a question, if there has been any further news on the reapplication for the grant for the Northeast?
All I've heard from Eric is that they are still working towards receiving a number of surveys back from the community that will give them clearance on the being a low and moderate income community. That's the extent of what I've heard. He does deserve another follow-up call, because it's been a couple weeks. So let me do follow that up, and I'll get back with council.
So, and presumably the resubmission won't happen until he's got the number of.
Yeah, he can.
Sarah, thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I talked to Eric last Wednesday because I was concerned that we were sort of dragging our heels on this. And I was really shocked. I talked to Dalton about it. And I don't know if they ever got in touch with Fletcher. He was out of town. He needs 35 to 50 applications in order to resubmit the grant. And Velma and I were like, we're not even sure there's 35 to 50 more people to talk to out there. We're really concerned, and Eric kept stressing over and over that he was very busy. And he didn't know if he could get to this. So I'm really concerned. I think that we need to. I think that we need to really, knock on doors, maybe start pounding on doors. And the first door we need to pound on is Eric's. And say, we want this grant.
Let me, before we start putting numbers out there, let me get his exact accounting.
Well, that's what he said to me.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I just want to make sure that we get him to say it right.
And it has to be done by November 1st.
Are you saying in addition to the number that you had, they knew on 35 to 50 more?
About 9.
How many residents do you have in the home?
So please talk to him.
I absolutely will, and I'll talk to you as well.
Yeah.
It's only property.
Not right.
All right, yeah, right.
No, I was also gonna mention the event at the school this past weekend. I think it was well attended. Dedication of the lift, sign, and playground. Well, one other question, very important, to some people, is there gonna be a Christmas parade this year?
Yeah, we have a meeting on that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, the parade is right now scheduled.
Jeff and,
Jeff and Bob
Bob are doing it.
they're doing the volunteer efforts of it, but it's still a town event.
You may remember they were the, they were disappointed not there, so they're gonna get it.
I submitted the VDOT paperwork last week, so we're already in the process.
And
Letter
Halloween,
being drafted.
I don't, did we ever go down, do the Halloween to Saturday? Somebody told me we had, but I don't
Well,
remember.
she
It's automatic?
told me that it's automatically
Okay.
on the shore, it automatically takes place
Yeah,
on
that's fine.
Saturday. If Halloween
That's
is Halloween is on a Sunday, it automatically transfers to Saturday.
Yeah.
So he was like, oh yeah, no, that's what they
Yeah,
do.
traditionally, yeah, that's for traditional.
So we do it when everybody else does it.
That's
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday between 5 and 8.
And we're gonna put something out about that?
Yeah, we'll be in the paper with everybody else that
Yeah.
they do the notice shore-wide where every town puts their.
Can you do it on Sunday?
There's no law stopping you, but, you know, we're not gonna.
On Sunday.
I guess, trick-or-treaters come by on Saturday, though.
Right.
Might get
Well,
away.
you've already started Halloween, so why not stretch it out as long as possible?
All right. So any other comments? Motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right.
That
Well, I did have a thing, real quick, this is not, but we have a vacancy, Bob is resigned, is running. Yeah, I think October is gonna be his last meeting, so,
I think December is gonna be his
Yeah,
last
that's right.
meeting. He's resigning effective the October, his resignation letter we have in hand.
Right.
He's signing it when he gets back.
Right.
It'll be effective at the end of the year, so council has a process to follow
Right.
for a couple of months to fill.
yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna advertise if there's a position open, and then we're gonna hopefully have an interview. Anybody that wants to be a person would send an email in or a resume, short resume was, and then we're gonna have either a probably, I think we can have a closed session. Interview the people. Yes, they do. Yeah, well, the last one didn't work too well. Because nobody, candidates we had, there wasn't any give and take between the people. And it just, you know, they felt that they weren't interviewed correctly. So we're gonna do a real process here and.
Yeah, you can have a closed session and do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying this is not the way
No,
it has been
this
done in the past, so I'm just.
Well, we can do it any way we want to, but you're right. Yeah, we can appoint somebody at any